Lisa Wilkes here from the Podiatry Point. Just here to give you some tips on how to dress a blister if it comes up. If you're wearing a pair of boots on a trek and you get a blister, then this is how we suggest you deal with it. So you can see this little guy here has come up on the heel. It's pretty nasty. Not too bad at this point, but if you let that go on, that can be a trip ending kind of situation. So to start off with, what I would do first of all is I grab an ointment like this, Fry's Balsam. We use that underneath the dressings because it's going to make everything stick a little bit better, and often if you're on a multi-day trip, your feet do get a little bit wet and slimy, so this will just make everything stick as well as form a microbial barrier for us. If you have any allergies to iodine though, you can't use that, so you'll just have to put the dressings directly onto the foot. So this blister is full, it hasn't been popped, so there is actually no break in the skin at this point in time, and we want to try and stop the skin from breaking because that will open it up to infection if that happens. So because the skin isn't broken, we can pop that Fry's Balsam over the top of the whole thing. So just going to form a little bit of a coating on there, around like that. So that's the area that our dressing will take up. So then the next step after that is to get a non-stick island dressing to put on there. So this is a Cutoclast dressing. It's fairly typical of the one that I would suggest. Now in this instance, I'm actually going to cut this down so I can use it at the right size. So we just open that guy up. And I'm actually going to cut it down so it's just bigger than the blister area. Trying not to touch the dressing pad. Now again, we're going to put this over the blister area because we don't want any tapes to stick to that loose skin of the blister. So that's just going to protect it. You can get non-stick dressings that don't have any of the sticky stuff around it, but often you're trying to economise when you're packing a first aid kit. So we're going to put that one directly over the blister area. Now because of the Fry's Balsam, it will already stick a little bit of its own accord. Now, over the top of that, I'm going to put this wonderful material called Fleecy Web. You can get it from pharmacies. Dr. Scholl make a very similar product, otherwise most podiatrists will be able to stock you with some. This is great because it forms a shearing surface that instead of the boot shearing your skin, it shears the fluff off here, so it stops the skin from rubbing. So we're going to pop that over the top of your island dressing. So you want to cut that with round corners. You don't want any sharp corners on that. And when you're cutting it to size, you want to cut it in such a way that the edges aren't in a spot that are going to catch. So I want my edges to sort of end here and down the bottom of the heel. Now this is also adhesive, but this is a bit, we don't want that to stick directly onto loose skin. So that's why we put the non-stick dressing on over the top. Underneath. So we pop that guy over the top like that. Being careful not to get any creases in there. So there you go, there's your blister barrier. Now sometimes if you're particularly vigorous walking, you'll get the edges of that might roll, and again we don't want that. So as an extra insurance policy, you can put some sports tape over the top, which will hold everything down a little bit more again. Depending on how much walking you do, where the tapes tend to roll on you generally. So we're just going to go around the edge of that just to give us a little bit more protection around the edge of the Fleecy Web. Again, just being careful to make sure all your edges are away from the back of the boot. So there you go, that's my blister dressing. I've used it over many years successfully. It gives you both protection for your skin, that lowers the risk of getting a bacterial infection, and also reduces the risk of the blister getting any bigger. This can stay on over a couple of days, but again, if it's getting wet or dirty, you need to change that every day. there you go. Well, hopefully that helps you out and gets you to the end of your trek.